changing the face of beauty. Reshma Qureshi stunned on the catwalk at New York Fashion Week, turning heads and perceptions from the runway.
तो मैं दुनिया को ये मैसेज देना चाहती हूँ कि मतलब जैसे मैं चल रही हूँ, मतलब वही लड़कियाँ नहीं हैं जो मतलब सब कुछ कर सकती हैं, हम भी हैं जो दुनिया में सब कुछ कर सकते हैं। इसलिए मैं सबको ये मैसेज दूँगी कि जो इनके साथ में हुआ है प्लीज़ उसको ऐसी नज़र से ना देखें, सबको एक ही नज़र से देखें।
2 years ago, Qureshi was living a normal life in Mumbai, but she lost an eye and suffered severe burns after her estranged brother-in-law and 2 men attacked her with sulfuric acid. She's since become a prominent advocate for Indian survivors and is part of a campaign for NGO Make Love Not Scars to ban the availability of acid.
रेड लिपस्टिक आपको आसानी से कहीं भी मिल जाएगी, एसिड की तरह, जिसकी वजह से हर रोज एक लड़की एसिड अटैक की विक्टिम बनती है।
About 1,500 acid attacks are reported worldwide each year. That figure could be much higher, with many victims too scared or ashamed to come forward. India has the highest number of attacks, which are often carried out as a form of revenge. But Qureshi hopes her catwalk success will inspire survivors to move forward in their lives. Natalie Pohanen, The Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now from Mumbai is Riya Sharma. She is the founder of Make Love Not Scars, an organization set up to help the victims of acid attacks. Riya, thanks so much for joining us. First, tell us a little bit more about how this epidemic actually first developed and when you decided you needed to get involved.
Hi, thanks for having me. I think acid attacks stem from, we have a problem with male domination in our country. And I think that's where acid attacks normally stem from because, anytime a woman tries to progress further, she is punished. And I think acid attacks are a way of punishing a woman. The Indian community also kind of believes that the woman's place in society is judged solely based on her appearances as well. So, when a man destroys her appearances, he automatically thinks that he ruins her standing in society. And unfortunately, with the situation in India, that is true. I started Make Love Not Scars 2.5 years ago. Make Love Not Scars started off as a college project. I was actually a fashion student and I was pursuing fashion. I was in my 3rd year of college at Leeds College of Art at the time, and I found that I had no passion for fashion. And I stumbled across a picture of an acid attack survivor in my 3rd year of college. And that kind of led me to making a documentary on the subject. So I came back to India and I started shooting this documentary. One day when I was shooting this documentary, I found myself in in a government hospital's burns ward, and it was in that ward that I kind of saw the poor health and lack of hygiene and how many people were losing their lives to burns in India, and that's when I decided to turn the documentary into an organization itself.
Okay, and one of the things you're fighting for through your organization is to basically ban the sale of this acid or the quantities of this acid that allow these attacks to happen. Help us understand why this weapon that can so quickly disfigure people so dramatically is so readily available in the country.
The government actually in 2013 regulated the states. So it was the Supreme Court that actually regulated the various states in India, and they said that they must regulate the ban on the open sale of acid. But I think we have a massive problem with implementation itself. So even though the Supreme Court has made efforts to ban the open sale of acid, the states aren't doing their bit in actually implementing that ban. So when we put up a petition to end the open sale of acid, we actually wanted the government to implement the ban and not actually ban the sale of acid, because that apparently had already happened according to the Supreme Court in 2013. With this judgment, it was amended in 2015, April of last year, but we've still not actually seen any changes. It's readily available because people sell it under the disguise of bathroom cleaners, and they use it it to they use a bucket full of water and they dilute some acid in it, and then they use it to clean tiles and floors and marble and stuff like that. But what we're trying to prove is that there are safer alternatives, and we should adopt safer alternatives instead of acid.
How much did it mean to you to see Reshma Qureshi on the catwalk, on that runway? And then what is your message? What's the message you want to send to the public on how they should treat and respond to victims?
Seeing Reshma walk on the New York Fashion Week runway, I think it meant so much to me because, when I first started my journey, Reshma was one of the first acid attack survivors that my organization kind of adopted, and we looked into medical, we looked into legal. So we pay for her medical treatment, we pay for her legal battle, and we also pay for her rehab. So she was one of the first survivors that I'd ever gotten in touch with. And at the time, I was 21, and I only had about 5 survivors under my care. So she was, when I first met her, she was my youngest survivor. She was only 17 years old, and I was just 21. So I think just the age factor itself kind of hit very close to home. So we automatically, bonded over that. And even though when I first met her, she was extremely depressed and, was constantly having suicidal thoughts, I think we made it through that together. It was my first case where I actually got to, be actively involved in a case right from the beginning. So I think the day we got the call that, Reshma was going to be walking the ramp, I think in my head, that was it for me. I was like, she's made it. There's nothing bigger than this. And, I think right before the show, we were so busy with the media and with hair and makeup, so we didn't really have time for all of it to sink in. But right after the show was done and we started seeing this news go extremely viral, I think that's when it started sinking in, and we both kind of, sat down, and we still kind of didn't know what the gravity of the situation actually was. But I remember sitting down with her and we were holding hands, and we were extremely overcome with emotions. And, looking back to the first day where I met her in a hospital and looking back to backstage at New York Fashion Week, I think are 2 extreme, comparisons. So it was phenomenal.
That was the victory for you, though, was to see her face be accepted as normal and beautiful.
Exactly, and I think that's the message we're trying to send out as well, that we can't help these girls move forward unless we get society to be more accepting. And more than anything else, these women need to move forward and come out in society in order to get employment, in order to move forward with their lives, in order to earn a livelihood. So it is so, important that society starts embracing them and accepting them, and that's the only way that we're going to end the stigma that surrounds acid attacks and help these women, find a new normal.
Okay, Reshma, thank you so much for joining us from Mumbai.